sure. Yes, if you guys don't mind following me and then telling your followers to join us, that would be terrific, especially if there's somebody that just wants to shoot their own movie for the first time, have no idea how to do it, want to know how to protect themselves, because tonight's subject matter is legally. How do I protect myself? I know it's not a very sexy subject, but we're going to try to make it sexy. How's that sound? We're going to get it going on. Okay, so the first thing that you really should keep in mind, terrific. Thank you, Jay Bard. I'm so glad you're with us tonight. One of the things that we're going to talk about is like how, you know, if I want to sell this, like let's say that what I'm doing is brilliant. I mean, I could just be going out with my iPhone this weekend and shooting something that's crap. But as you recall, the Duplass brothers, I believe they made a film with their iPhone and they're doing pretty doggone well with their content. So what if you decide to go out there and you decide to shoot something and it's brilliant and somebody wants to pick it up? If your paperwork is not in order, this could be a real problem. And I'm not sitting here talking like I'm some big expert on this. I have learned myself, School of Hard Knocks. And so that's why I'm here to, like, hopefully I can give some kind of information. I'm in New York, New Jersey, Chameleon. If I can help somebody else out and they can avoid first-time mistakes, I think it's wonderful. Kathy, these are some people that I was going to tell you that could be followed that also are talking about film. Kathy Carey, Bonnie Gillespie, and Julie Bush. Julie Bush is an incredible screenwriter. Kathy Carey is an independent filmmaker, and Bonnie Gillespie is talking about periscoping and creating your own content. She's amazing. So these are some great people for you to follow. So number one on the list is, I have a production company. It's called Boy with Stick, LLC. We're going to talk about copyrights tonight, lazy. We're going to get to that. That's one of the subject matters. So, but the very first thing is, let's say I decide I want to make a film. I'm Boy with Stick Productions. Well, that's terrific. But what you want to do is you want to have your production company either LLC'd. I don't know if you have heard of that, but making it an LLC or an S Corp, you're not going to probably do an S Corp, especially when you're first starting out. You're going to want to make sure that you can, adjust the headroom like that. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. You're going to want to make sure that the LLC, so like for instance, my film Failure Groupies needs to have its own LLC because all the accounting needs to be run cleanly through that film title. So once you've decided on your film title, you can change these things later on, but it just costs you money. You're going to want to go on your website for being able to incorporate the name of your film so that it's its own film. Whether or not that's going to be able to be done through a lawyer or you can actually do it yourself, you're going to want to do that because then all of the accounting is going to be clean. So if some distributor comes in and says, we really want to pick up this film, they need to be able to see that your books have been clean. It's all one source of income. So that's one of the things you're going to want to look at. The other thing you're going to want to look at that somebody brought up here was registering your script. How do you get it copyrighted? How do you get it registered with the WGA so that you can feel free and to go out and pitch your project or fundraise your project and be able to tell everybody a wonderful log line about what it's all about, what the title is, be able to explain it to everybody to try to fundraise. So get a copyright or or register it with the WGA. I'm going to give you some, if you want to take a screenshot of this, this is some information. Well, patenting, that's trademarking. You're going to want to trademark, like for instance, Boy with Stick LLC, that and the logo that I use, that's something you want to trademark. If you have a specific logo that you're going to want to use, yes, you are going to want to get a trademark for that lawyer. The trademark department is different than getting a copyright or getting it registered with the WGA. Your first thing is the WGA. I do have a Twitter. It's my same name, @Rosalie10cent. Thanks for asking. So the WGA has www.wga either west.org or east.org, and it only costs you $25 if you're not a member. I'm assuming most people here are not a member of the Writers Guild of America. And once you have that registered, you can say, hey, listen, this was my idea, this was my script. and you have writing proving it, and you have some kind of protection for it. I copyright all my stuff, though I wait usually till the script is done before I copyright it, but you can copyright a treatment. A treatment is usually a 1 or 2 page explanation of exactly the plot line, and then you've got your entire plot line written out in some fashion, and that as well will protect you. You can do that through the WGA, or you can do that through the Copyright Office. Copyright Office is just www.copyright.gov. I always have to look it up because I'm always thinking writing, R-I-T-E, W. It's not. RIGHT.gov, and that costs you $35 to copyright that. It's completely worth it. Can you imagine, you walking around thinking, oh, I can't talk to anybody about my idea? Believe me, that's not going to sell it, and that's not going to get any kind of fundraising for you. So really, you want to protect yourself. Go ahead, register with the WGA. Once you have a script, go ahead and get a copyright on that script. Does it only apply for New York? No, it's all the states. It's for all the states. It's not just for New York. It's all the states. Somebody asked a really good question last night, which was, can I copyright my idea? And that's really unfortunate, but you cannot. So until you have something written down in writing, and you can prove this is my idea, this is my script, this is my plot line, these are my characters, this is what's happening in it, you can have all the ideas in the world you want, but you can't copyright an idea. It's not legally possible. So if you talk to a lawyer, that's what they're going to tell you. Anything I say tonight, send me the copy so we triple the money. Exactly. If I suggest anything tonight, please, and you go, no, this doesn't make any sense, I had a different experience myself, go ahead and tell me about it. But I'm going to be giving general tips about how you can go about doing this yourself and resources you could find. But obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I just play them on TV. But I've had to learn, how to get all these things myself for my films, just so that everything is in order. Now, another thing that you want to look to is getting worker permits if you're going to be using kids. I don't know if any of you are going to be using kids in your film, but a lot of people think, oh, I just want to have this one kid doing this one thing in there, and it's really going to be, it's just going to be like a day shoot or whatever. Well, if you don't have that paperwork later to prove that you did the worker permits for those kids on set, trying to sell that film is going to be very hard with a distributor. You have to be able to prove that you treated these kids right. It's not that difficult to do. In fact, the kids that work in New York, my kid's a kid actor. He's been on Saturday Night Live. He's in the Adderall Diaries. He's done a ton of work, and he's 7 years old, in the union already, and it's absolutely possible to get these worker permits done. In the state of New York, your worker's permit for a kid is good for an entire year, so the parents apply for that and they have it for the entire year. If you work in New Jersey, however, this is just crazy. In New Jersey, it is per project. So every project, and it really comes down to the producer has to do this, every project they have to go through getting it signed off on their school, getting their medical report, saying it's okay for them to work. But all these things need to be in order, because, like, what if you go to a film festival with your film? Somebody's like, I want to pick this up. And they're like, okay, so show us your worker permits. And you're like, you don't have those. It's going to be a problem for you later on. Hey, thank you for the hearts. And while we're on the heart subject, hey, I have this going on this week where the person who gives me the most hearts by the end of this week, you could have a lovely Failure Groupies mug sent to you. Last night, some guy did 4,000 hearts. Oh, who was it? I twittered it out today. Who was the ultimate big time Twitterer for me? Hold on, I forget. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible. This is the thing that's terrible about me. I'm just terrible about names. And we had who was our main Twitter, our main hearter last night. Oh, Wesley Morris. Wesley Morris was in the lead last night. So whoever, by the end of the week, gives me the most hearts, I am going to personally send you a Failure Groupies mug, which is my film, right? Oh, it's going to be you? All right, Jeffro. Go, Jeffro. Hey, Kathy Carey. Oh, I hope you can see me now. So again, we're having a little hearts contest, right, for the most hearts. Okay, back to where we are. Now, we talked about workers' permits, and yeah, so aren't you glad you just acting right? I wish I could just, I started as an actor too. But honestly, It's all about, once you do it once, it's not that big of a deal. Then you know how to do it. It's the learning curve on the first time. Listen, I made 3 short films not doing any of this right, except for the worker permits. I had worker permits because I had kids in all my films. But, they were shot on a very simple budget and, very low maintenance projects. And so I didn't have to do a ton of this. I wasn't looking on those first 3 projects to sell it. I was just like, oh, maybe I'll get it into a film festival, which happened. But since my intention was to never sell it, I really didn't care about some of these things as much. However, the times are different. You can now easily sell or put it up on VOD, have all sorts of different outlets for your projects. So of course you're going to want to have your paperwork in order in case you can do it big time. That's right, Kathy Carey. That's why we're here, to help you guys. That's exactly why we're here, to help you guys. Kathy Carey, follow her, swipe and follow her, because I asked her tomorrow night to talk about crowdfunding. And because she's done a crowdfund on hers, and so it would be really a wonderful episode for her to speak to her experience on crowdfunding. So and she's really cool. That's why. That's the other thing. And she makes really cool films. So definitely follow her too. So we're talking about SAG. Next, the Screen Actors Guild and is something that you do not need to avoid. Now, they do different contracts based on the budget of your film. And the budget, if the budget is under $50,000, which if it's your first film, most likely is going to be under $50,000, you can get away with these contracts that are, you really don't have to pay your SAG actors. If you were to make money on them, you could pay them $100 a day later if you made the money. Hey, everybody. Hey, Kate. So do not avoid using SAG actors because it's just paperwork. You put together a bunch of papers that they need, and you can actually do it online. You do it through SAG AFTRA Production Center. I'm going to put up the little address of the SAG AFTRA Production Center up there, but if you just go to sag.org and go to where they have the new media contracts and the independent films, you definitely can find a way through there. You can do all your paperwork electronically online, everything, and they assign you a representative, and that representative will help you. They have a lot going on. You should do it 30 days before you plan on shooting. I've done it in less than 30 days because I wasn't as organized, but they really do require the hey, Kate, they do require those 30 days in order to process your SAG paperwork. So if you want to have Screen Actors Guild actors, don't think to yourself, and there's really good non-union actors out there as well, but why limit yourself? Make sure that you can get the best people for your project, because I'm telling you right now that a lot of the things that they make a film look professional and keep you engaged and keep you in the who, what, where, why of the moment in that film are your actors. Your actors are the ones that are your characters, and so don't skimp. Get your paperwork done so that you can use SAG actors if you want to. Don't just think, oh, my buddy from who's a drunk from college can play that drunk really well. Well, not if he's going to show up on set and be drunk for you. So hire an actor that can act it for you. Let's see, trademarks. Yes, Kathy, it is easy to do, isn't it? Totally recommend. And they could not be more helpful for you. They will help you with all sorts of, SAG will help you with all sorts of different paperwork that you may be having problems with. They have offices set up for this. They want people to be producing. So don't shy away from it. Don't think, oh God, I just don't want to do the paperwork. Don't be lazy. This is your baby. If you're just shooting something on the weekend just for the fun of it because you want to learn, how to use my camera, how to whatever. But once you decide you want to shoot it for real, man, because this could be very successful for you. And the better people that you have involved in your team, the better your project is going to be. Here we go. We did a web series of SAG AFTRA production with a $2,000 budget, is what Phyllis said. That's right. And you can do it. And you would not have to pay your actors. There's a thing with SAG, because I've done a web series for somebody. where I sign a SAG new media contract. And of course, if advertising gets on there, eventually I think they have to pay me. I think it's 0.01 cents of something for every so many hits, or I don't know what it is. This is, suffice to say, I haven't seen a check yet. Okay, so, but it is absolutely, and I'm a SAG union actor, so it's possible to work with us and have a really good product. Trademarks. We talked about trademarks. If you're going to have logos, or like, for instance, the name of my film production company, Boy with Stick LLC, which it needs a trademark for that. But and if you have a logo that's going to go with that film and you want to trademark that, that's great. I have not done a trademark for the film stuff. I copyright everything, but that doesn't mean that somebody else shouldn't. The thing is if you're going to do a higher budget film and you really are looking to try to sell this, at all cost, go find a lawyer. I did a lawyer on this last film, Failure Groupies, because I talked to a lot of people and I said, I don't have a budget for a lawyer and I need trademarks looked at, and I needed clearances, which we're going to talk about next. And somebody actually did it on a barter. I know people will say all the time, oh, go to the volunteer lawyer for the arts. Well, I wish I could be here to endorse them for all of you, but they never answered my call. They never answered my emails. This did not happen. I'm just being dead honest. So I eventually did have to really go get a lawyer. I lucked out on this one because they actually used DePaul University. The third year law students were actually, as a group, taking care of my film, which was amazing. So that was kind of the barter, was they used me as a guinea pig, and I got legal services out of it. It was amazing, and I'm eternally grateful. But I can't do that for the next one. I can't go back to the well twice. It's just not kind. So I am, going to have other legal help on the next project. But at some point you have to understand, if you have a question about it, I'll tell you a couple good resources to look for why you need it, how to find it, what to look for, especially because everybody's project is different. Let me get my books. This is an amazing book. I met him, this Crawwell, Thomas A. Crawwell. I met him at Comic-Con this year in New York, and this book will explain contracts to you, why you need it, case examples of what happened for people that did not have it. So it's called The Pocket Lawyer for Filmmakers book, and it's a wonderful, wonderful book. Yes, take a screenshot of this. Also, I upload all of these to my YouTube channel. If you saw it, buy it. It is absolutely worth it. It is absolutely worth it. Then the other book that I got that has a lot of contracts, that if you decided, oh no, I'm going to do this myself because like dude, I'm doing it for $1,000 and I'm just going to shoot what I got, whatever. This is a great book. It's the Complete Film Production Handbook, and it has sample contracts in it. So take a screenshot of this, and it does have sample contracts, though I am not a legal attorney, so do not take my advice to use this book. Should you choose to buy it on your own accord, go nuts, people. Just go nuts. Okay, so I will say, we were talking about yesterday how you could use film festivals to your advantage. I did go to Comic-Con last year. I went to Comic-Con last year, met that lawyer, got his book, and you know what? He gave me a bunch of advice on the phone when I was trying to figure out what lawyer to hire. Now, in the end, I really couldn't afford him. I have found somebody else, but if I could afford him, I'd be using him. I thought he was fantastic. So the other book, of course, is, which I showed you yesterday, is Bonnie Gillespie's book. She talks about self-production. And go ahead and take a picture of this if you aren't using this. She has a lot of suggestions as well about how to self-produce and different pieces of advice about how to protect yourself, which is very important for first-time producers. And that's what we're here to try to. Hello, J Garf C JL JL. Yeah, these are all Sam French, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. These are all really, really amazing books that I've just shared with you. So here's some forms that I think are essential. These are some things that I'm like. My YouTube link is YouTube Rosalie Tensa. find my name. Just use my name that's on here. I have at Rosalie Tenset here, and that's my YouTube channel is the same thing. And then I replay. I kind of edit the little things out and I put it up there. All right, so service agreements, different things. Make sure that you have a contract for how you're going to be paid. If somebody was going to pay you to make this film, you have to have some kind of a service agreement. You just want to do that for yourself. If you're going to hire people on independent contractors, which means, okay, hey, I'm going to pay you as a makeup artist $300 for a week's worth of shoot. I'm just throwing out numbers here. These are not realistic, but they might be if you negotiate. You have to have them fill out a W-9. I don't know if you know what a W-9 is, but it helps protect you in the future because you're going to get their social security number right away if you're paying people 1099, which means you're not taking any taxes out. You're just paying cold hard cash to people. And if you want to be able to write that off later, write a check. Don't be paying people in cash because you can't write off a cash receipt to somebody. Your accountant's going to look at you like you're nuts later. You have to write a check and have a record of it that you paid that. Well, artists are really hard to get a hold of if you've given them their cash. So you're going to want a W-9, which gives them you're going to get their social security number and their address, and you'll be able to then later send out a 1099 at the end of the year. You only have to do that for people that make over $600 a year off of you personally. So if I paid somebody, and I have done this, $599, so they didn't have to report that as cash income, then you don't have to file a 1099 on them saying that you paid them this much money. So at the minute it goes over $600, let's say you go nuts. You shoot a whole web series. You're just paying these people, $100 a time, but you shoot 7 episodes and now they've made $700. It's your responsibility to show the federal government and the state that you did it in, that you paid them that $700. You need that you need to fill out it. And you guys, it's so easy. You can go to the IRS office and they'll show you how to do it. This is all not meant to be, by the way, discouraging to say, I never want to produce anything as long as I live because this paperwork just sounds out of control. It's really not. You're going to do it wrong the first time you do it. So, go nuts. How else are you going to get your film made? I did 3 films without doing things right. And this is how I learned. So, but you do want to make sure that you get these things in order so that what if you're a big hit, man? What if you could sell it? You just want to have that paperwork in order. So get a W-9 for your 1099 workers and then submit a 1099 at the end of the year. If you pay somebody $500 by the end of the year, you still don't have to report it. Everybody's cool. Even if you wrote a check for it, it's no big deal. But that check should come out of the LLC of the title of your film. So if my film was Drunks of Despair, why am I talking about drunks tonight? Because I want a glass of wine. If my film is called Drunks of Despair, I should have Drunks of Despair LLC as the company name. And then as I put money in, they see the money coming out. You know exactly what you write off. So if your film's a loss, you can at least, you can get something back at the end of the year for it. If you had investors that invested in that money, boy, that better be clean. It really has to be clean. By the way, if you crowdfund, which Kathy Carey is going to address tomorrow night, right, Kathy? You're going to address it tomorrow night. Kathy Carey, she's one of the people I said would be great to follow. If you are going to crowdfund, that's different. If, let's say, $500 came in from a crowdfund from a person, you got that money free and clear. There's no reporting that, but you can't make a write-off against that. So if somebody gave me $500 through crowdfunding and then I spent $500 on craft services, I can't use that as a write-off because that was a gift. So these are just little things to think about before you get ready to film. Listen, if you want to shoot something with your iPhone or your camera, you buy a nice GoPro or whatever, and you decide you're going to go off and you're going to shoot something. It's just you and a group of buddies. That's terrific. But if you decide to then you're going to put it up on YouTube and you're going to monetize it, you better make sure you have agreements with your friends, because you don't need to lose friendships over the fact that you didn't have agreements set up in the first place. Now, there's something called a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, which basically says, hey, we're working on this project together. It's original content. It's really exciting. And we're going to all agree to keep our mouths shut about it until it's released. And that's called an NDA. And you can get the same thing for model releases and photo releases. There's photo releases. Again, that's why like getting a book like this would be great. Some of those things you can really do yourself. Getting a photo release from somebody, you can even find that on the web, that basically says I have the right to use your picture for this long or whatever. And then privacy. Different things that if you have somebody working on your paperwork or your financials, have them sign the agreement. The other agreement you want to look at is, like, people don't think about this one, and this is really important. Let's say I'm the writer. Okay, so I'm the writer, I've written it. I'm also the producer, but I hire a director, and I hire a director of photography. I'm going to make them sign an agreement that says, listen, this is my artistic property. Even though the director might have some input in how obviously it's shot, because they're the director, you have to have them sign something that says that you own the copyright to this piece. Because there have been cases in the past where people have either the directors or the director of photography has said, listen, I had such creative input into this piece that I actually should have a higher percentage of the piece of the pie once it starts making money, because I was part of the creative team. Well, there are agreements that you can have them sign. Thank you, Bonnie. There are agreements that you can have them sign that basically say, no, all artistic and creative control and all creative rights are underneath the writer and the producer. Or if you're the director, same thing. Let's say you're directing a piece that some writer, if you bought the rights to the script, you have to have paperwork in order to prove that, because what if it does turn out to be a big hit and somebody's like, this is mine, it's not yours. So, I mean, just help yourself out and just have this paperwork in order, have everything in agreement, because if you have a piece of paper that you can show to a judge later, this is the agreement we made. Yes, have all the crew and the cast sign releases. And I do. You just have everybody sign releases, especially because, think about it. Let's say you have a cast member who all of a sudden says, yeah, you can take my picture, you can use it anyway, but you never had him sign it. And you're using it for publicity later, and things had to be reshot, and that actor wasn't available, so you recast them. But yet your publicity was already done, and they're on the poster. They come back later and say, I'm not in this piece. You didn't, well, you have no right to use my image. Well, if you had them sign a piece of paper when they first started with you saying, it's a photo release, I can use it any way you want, you as a producer later are protected because you had them sign those photo releases. And if you say, hey, we're going to use it for images, we're going to use it for trailers, we're going to use it for sizzle reels, all that kind of stuff. What if you post signs implying the release? Are you talking about like background performers? Are you talking about people who are background? Yeah, you'll see that all the time. You have to have the huge, like if you're working in a busy place, like let's say I shot on 23rd Street, by the Flatiron building. By the way, I'd have to have a zoning permit, which we also have to talk about. If I were shooting there, you can't possibly stop the traffic. You can't possibly stop all those people from walking through your set. You are required to have a huge placard up, which you've seen these in the city if you walk through the city, or probably anywhere in LA, that says, if you walk through this zone, you are agreeing and you are giving up your right for us to use your image. But you have to have those posted. And by the way, you have to take pictures of the fact that you did put those placards up, and you know what I mean, so that you go around with your camera and your still photographer and the rest of the crew and show the perimeter that you put those signs around, proving, so that nobody comes back at you later and is like, I'm a SAG-AFTRA and you used my image and I was in the background and blah, 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 blah. Well, if they walk through that space and you have it clearly marked, they are signing a release for their waiver. That was a good question. That was a really good question. Zoning permits. So I shoot, or I have to this point, I have shot in a place that doesn't have a zoning How convenient for me, huh? There's no zoning laws here for films. So what I do is I tell the police right before I'm going to do it, because I've had cops, like I was the cop in the film. And I knew we were going to have, it looked like we had real weapons, you know, these types of things. So I contacted the police department, the chief of police. He put out, told all the cops this is what was going on, because we had a rented cop car, the whole thing, right? So I know, right? Lucky me, I don't have to do with zoning permits. This is not the norm, people. If you are shooting, let's say, even in a park, like a state park, there is a park down here that I actually do want to shoot in, and I know I'm going to have a zoning permit in order to do that. And it is worth it to go get the zoning permit, and let me tell you why. Yes, you do have good questions, Mr. Arthouse, Ms. Arthouse. No, it is Mr. I see the picture. Got my glasses on for a reason tonight. So if you don't get that zoning permit and the cops come and try to close you down while you're paying for a crew, you've got your cast, maybe you're shooting at night, you only have your kids for 4 hours on set because that's the legal thing for the worker permit for their age, and all of a sudden the cops come and are like, shut it down, you're out of here because you didn't have your zoning permit in order. I mean, that's going to be a disaster. Now, there are a lot of people, and you see this in New York all the time. I mean, you know they're going to school. And so they're walking around their cameras in the parks, and I haven't, these people, they're shooting and running, and, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I wouldn't encourage it. And it says, Kathy is saying, in most areas of LA, you need a permit to shoot at your own house or apartment. And you know why? Because you might have lights on all night, which your neighbors are going to consider a real hassle. One of the things that I did was I actually flyered the neighborhood, 4 days ahead of time, warning them we were going to do it. And then I put it in their mailboxes. I put it everywhere in addition to telling the cops. And then I also, even inside, because you know what? You're making noise. And that crew is coming in and out of your house the whole time, set with new light setups. You have to tell the neighbors. They will call the cops. Those cops will come and make noise when you do not need them to be making noise. It's just a nightmare. So, all you have to do, you know what? And if you tell the neighbors, I mean, maybe not in LA, but around here, they get pretty excited about it. They're like, oh, can I walk through the background? Can I do it? You know what I mean? They get excited about it. This is the advantage of shooting someplace that isn't used to having a lot of things shot. But tell the neighbors. Don't think, we're just not going to tell them. We're going to see what happens. Do you need it? See what happens when you have equipment rental? Do you've paid thousands of dollars for equipment? You have food out for people. You're trying to feed them in the garage and the garage door is open. Yes, the cops or the fire department will shut you down because there is going to be the one neighbor that is sick, has cancer. You don't know what's going on with those neighbors. You don't know what's going on with those neighbors. So please be respectful to them, because if you're not respectful to them, they could be, oh my God, can I tell you, this last shoot, we were shooting out in the front yard. It was 34 degrees. I've got kids on set, the whole thing. I've got it all worked out. I flyered the neighbors. Well, unbeknownst to me, the house across the street, the woman only lives in part of the year. I am not an entertainment lawyer. Take nothing I have to say with anything but a grain of salt. But the person across the street, I'm an actor and a producer and a writer. And the person across the street had ordered a tree, the tree to be cut down. So the guy comes out from Pennsylvania, and he's going to cut down this tree while I'm trying to shoot, right? So I went over there and talked to him very nice. He was the nicest guy. And he agreed to come back the next day. He had drove from Pennsylvania. And he agreed to come the next day. I fed him. I gave him some of the best coffee he's ever had, craft services. And I was just like, and I'm an actor, and I almost cried. I almost cried. And he believed it. And because I'm telling you right now that I would have cried. I would have cried if he would have been doing that, sawing. And he was taking down a whole tree. And he waited till the next day. So, yes, crafty. I cannot speak highly enough about craft services. If you feed your crew and I even have my husband who actually works in the food business. He's not in this business at all, but he loves it. Thank God, because otherwise, no, not a hobby, we'd be together. Anyway, but he even would make coffee and bring it to the DP and bring it to, the first AC. And yes, if people are fed, they don't have to leave the set. And they're happy. I heard of a nightmare. Do not pop a soda can while rolling, people. Does that even need to be explained? Yes, yay for hubbies, because they cook. And they have the food delivered, and he drove the van of all the crew. Without them, small independent films would not happen if it wasn't for our spouses. Clint Eastwood has serious crafting. Yes, here's the thing. My son, when he's 7 years old, he judges the entire experience on a set by what the craft he was. So, but people will do extraordinary things. I did hear a nightmare about a guy that hated the crafty one day, and he was the sound guy on somebody else's, but I have his name, crew. He didn't like the crafty food that day, so he didn't record any sound for the whole day. Can you imagine? Because he was upset with the food. Do not skimp on your food. Food matters, people. 10-hour days, 12-hour days, 14-hour days. Do not skimp on the food. You have to feed these people well. Okay, that's not legal talk. How did I get distracted? Because I love food. That's why. Look at me. I love food. Okay, so yes, exactly. I'd die. It has to be done. What have I not covered? Kathy, have I not covered? Well, you were in and out, right? But I think I've got it. Anybody have any questions? Follow me on YouTube. A location for a student short film. How serious is that? It depends on the script. We have to know what the script is. A location. It would depend on the location. Yes, I mean, here's the thing. These are basic storytelling skills, okay? Who they are, the characters, where they are, what they're doing, and why, right? See ya, Kate. If anything is going to take me out of that moment for a second, I can't stay with you. I'm not going to stay with there. The fourth wall's gone. I can't stay in your storyline if this is not plausible. It doesn't have to be believable, because there's a lot of stories that are not, quote, unbelievable or realistic. See ya, Kate, that are not realistic. However, it's the plausibility that you have to maintain. And if you can't maintain that plausibility because your location makes absolutely no sense or is not realistic based on your storyline, you're going to have a problem. Locations, there are people that are location managers, and that's what they do. I have not used them because I've never had a budget for it. So I spend a long time where I had a school, man. I had to get a school. I had to pay a janitor $25 an hour to be at that school. This is, yes, and be nice to them. If you barter something with these people, okay, I will tell you one of the things that I did with the school. See you, Kate. One of the things I did do with the school was, I went and I taught some free improv classes because, listen, it made such a difference to have that school, and I needed it, and they needed it. Lessons, and I gave them a donation, and I paid the janitor, and you can't do a scene with kids without doing, having a school. That doesn't work if it's set in the school. So it just depends on your location. I hope I answered that question. It just all depends on tell us the backstory and how I got started in the business. I got started, your CPA, I'm a CPA looking to get into film producing while keeping my day job. Any advice on the first steps? Wow. Well, if you're a CPA, you could really volunteer to help somebody keep their books and get on a set as a PA initially. And a PA is a production assistant, and do anything. We are discussing films. We were doing the legalities of it. If you go to my YouTube channel tomorrow, I'll have this loaded up, the legalities, but somebody's asking me now how I got started in the film business. I actually was in theater to begin with, and then when I moved to New York, I started getting television work, Law and Order. This is way back when I moved here. Ed, I don't know if you remember the series Ed was on, so I started getting television work and film work, and I actually started, when I got pregnant, I got married and had a baby. and you can't be a PA and keep your day job. You can on the weekends. And a lot of student films, let me tell you why a lot of films are shot on the weekend. Because you can rent your equipment cheaper from Friday to Monday morning than you can. You'll get like a 1-day rate versus 3 or 4 days. You're like renting. Oh, I'm going to talk about music in just a second, Brad. I will talk about music. If you get that 1-day rental fee for the entire weekend, so there's a lot that's shot on the weekend. So if you are a CPA, you absolutely could be PA work doing it on set. Now, I understand because my AD, that's the assistant director for my film, moved to LA after being here. And he said even getting production assistant jobs in LA is very difficult. It's a very tight-knit group. There's a union deal going on, and people even getting a PA when you're new to town is very difficult in LA. However, if you go to like the schools, like here, there's NYU, there's Columbia, there's all the different like just New York Film Academy and whatnot, and you could do their work, and these are the future filmmakers of tomorrow, people. So getting and doing PA work on their films, which they are mostly shooting on the weekends, they are mostly shooting those on the weekends. You could get PA work on that. And you're not going to get paid. You're going to get experience. And that is getting paid because the experience is more important than anything. Yes, and then I got pregnant. So I got pregnant, and so what happened was I decided while I was knocked up that I would do some coaching, because I've done coaching in the past and coach kids. However, my temperament is such that I really only wanted to work with kids who wanted to go pro, and kids who were very determined and really wanted to get ready for auditions and whatnot. So I was doing that, and then somebody showed up on my doorstep. A man who had made films when he was in LA showed up on my doorstep and said, "What are you doing with these kids?" And I explained, and I let him sit down on some classes, and he said, "Hey, why don't we make some films with them?" And I was like, that would be the best possible experience these kids could have. Just like the guy that wants to get the PA experience, the best thing you could do is get on a set and learn how to be a professional actor on a set. And so I started making films, and I wrote them for the people that I had in mind already. So I knew when I was writing these films who I was writing it for. I found some of my best jobs volunteering in what I was interested in, following a hunch and guidance. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly it. I mean, do what makes you happy, man. Life is short. So we made those 3 films with that in mind. And then, yeah, dare to dream, man. Go for it. I mean, could be hit by a bus tomorrow and say, oh, I didn't get to try that. That was just really depressing. Why the hell did I just say that? But I'm just saying, life is short. You should be doing what it is you want to do. I mean, even when I was knocked up, I figured out a way to stay in the business and do it. I started coaching. That brought me to making films. Instead of being just in front of the camera, then I became, I had to be the producer. Who the hell else was going to produce it? I mean, so at that point, and then when we got into the film festivals with those shorts, which the stories were hilarious, if I must say, they were really funny. And, they were cute. And people loved them, and they were funny. But the production values weren't up to where they needed to be. We were shooting everything with a boom mic and I think a D5 or D7. Actually, the picture looked fine, but it was never well lit. One, lighting. Come on. You can get away with a camera, but lighting, I'm going to get back to the music. And sound is what I learned. I had to up those production values, which I just did with my last film, www.failuregroupies.com. If you want to see Failure Groupies, go see the trailer. It's a kick-ass film. Anyway, I just moved everything. It's like, it's not an earthquake, people. This is not LA. This is New York. Okay, so music. That's another thing legally we have not discussed. Here's something that is really important about music. I knew enough that, because, we wanted to use a very famous New Jersey band, and they were very well known, and there was a particular song that I wanted. And that band happened to be friends with a party girlfriend of mine. And she was like, hey, I talked to them. They're going to let you use the song. This is going to be great. I was like, kick ass, right? Okay, you just have to talk to so-and-so. So they gave me so-and-so to talk to at the publishing house. Yeah, sure. Sure, I can use the song. For this is on a $4,000 budget film, I might add. I could, for $5,000, have the rights to that music for a year. And then after that, I was going to have to pay, I don't know how many more thousands. And it was like, are you freaking kidding? No, it was not Bruce Springsteen. It was more like a cult band, but they're known. And so despite the fact that that entire band was cool with it, their publishing house was not. And so what I did is I went to SoundCloud and I started looking through SoundClouds because I didn't know any different at the time, and started looking through SoundClouds and going, hey, I like this music. I got a hold of the individual artists themselves who might not even have representation yet and said, hey, would you be willing to let me use this song? Because I thought a composer was going to be too expensive. Now listen, I have since learned you can hire composers totally reasonably. It just depends on whether or not you want to have it synth sound or live recorded sound with real instruments, which I did get for my last film. And that's a fun story, is how I got that. And it's brilliant. But not the trailer. So if you listen to our trailer, that's not the music we learned. But you can, there's tons of websites that offer free music, but you do have to, or you pay, let's say, $50, which I've done in the past, just pay $50. And you have the rights to it for 2 years or 1 year, or it just depends. But don't go using somebody's music. And yes, it is Kathy. Kathy Carey is right. She said it's completely reasonable to hire a composer. It absolutely is. There are people out there. You guys, when I started advertising for this last film to get a composer, I had people with Oscars contact me saying that they would love to compose the music. I wrote back to this guy. I said, are you nuts? I said, do you know what the budget of my film is? And he said, listen, I make a lot of money on the other films, but I'm really interested in indie work, and I'd be happy to compose it for you. Hire a composer, because it's going to work with the arc of your piece. I will say this about hiring composers, because I interviewed a lot of composers, and the composer that I finally went with was the person that gave me an idea, rather than the composers that said to me, the composers that said to me, what do you want? Well, you know what? I'm a control freak, as you probably can tell from watching me. I'm a control freak. And the one thing I did not know was what kind of music I wanted on this last film. And I knew I had the right composer when he said, you know what I hear when I see this? And he told me his idea. And I went, well, okay, first of all, I hate that style of music. So I had to, the hair went up on the back of my neck, and I was like, are you kidding me? And then but I didn't talk. Rare for me. And I shut up and I said, I hate that music. And he said, well, I can come up with something else. And I said, no, but you're right. You are right. I'm going to sleep on this for a night. But he was the only composer that came to me with the original thought. And that's so important. Thank you, Mr. Arthouse, saying, I'm a designer. I like your style. Yeah, because what's collaboration? This whole thing, making a film, making theater, unless you're an artist that's sitting there and painting with paint yourself, this is a collaborative art. And if it wasn't for the director, Mandira Shahan, who I had, and my DP, Rodin Hamidi, had I not had these two people, we would not have this same film. This is a great exercise in not being a control freak, which is kind of hard to be when it's your writing, it's your piece. But so on the legal note of this, though, is that, again, you have to have a release from that composer. You have to say, even though you are composing this music for me, you do have to have a document with them saying, I'm going to hold the copyright on this because I've hired you. It's kind of like when people go to work for corporations. They go to work for let's say a pharmaceutical company, and they come up with a brand new drug. Who owns the copyright for that? Who owns the patent, the trademark, or who owns the patent for that? It's the company, not the person who invented it. So rule number 1 is nobody makes it alone, play nice. That's absolutely, the golden rule, people. Treat others as you want to be treated. And the best way to be able to treat others as you want to be treated, yes, is to treat them the same. I find that the more success I get for clients, the more they trust my opinion. Absolutely. Because as Bonnie Gillespie, who a lot of us are ninjas with her because we are all trying to make a better Hollywood, as she says. You build a web of trust with people that you really can trust and work with, and those people you're going to go back to over and over and over again. You know, some of the people, I don't know if I'd be able to keep affording them because they gave me, they liked the piece, so they were willing to work for less than maybe they normally would work for because they believed in the message of the piece, and that can happen. But, you know, these people are talented and they're brilliant, and I want to be able to. Kathy says she has her team. I have my team too, but at some point I want to be able to really pay them well because they deserve it. And so that's what we'll probably end with tonight. Entry level pricing, absolutely, and then beyond. You know, I've got to up my game for them because they upped their game for me. You know, I am indebted to their talent, and that's very, very important. And tomorrow night, Kathy said that she was going to talk about crowdfunding from her. That's Kathy Carey at Kathy Carey. These are people that I follow that are in the film world that I love on here on Periscope that I think are amazing. And she's going to talk about crowdfunding tomorrow night. I have not crowdfunded. I have just broke my back making the money coaching, and then paid for the films. And but this next one, though, I won't be paying for. My short's being made into a feature, and I'm excited about that. But yes, find good people, the opportunity, and price accordingly. And also, just want to get a subject matter for tomorrow night to talk about. Kathy Carey is going to talk about crowdfunding. I'm not a person that's an expert on crowdfunding from personal experience, so I don't want to speak to it. So she says she's going to do it tomorrow night. Kathy, do you know what time you're going to do it at, Kathy? If you post on here so that people will know. That would be terrific. But in terms of the subject matters that we have been talking about, let's go back to what we've been talking about. And if you have requests, remember that I will post this video on my YouTube channel, which is at Rosalie Tenset, my name, the same at that we have here on Periscope. I put it up on YouTube. So that it has replay in case there's things you want to listen to again, or share with your friends. Just share with your friends, guys. This is, you know, it's an opportunity for all of us to meet each other as filmmakers and learn. I was going to talk about, should I talk about tomorrow night, how to budget? No, that's so boring. You're doing it Friday tomorrow? Okay, that's right. So Kathy Carey is going to be doing it Friday on crowdfunding. I'm thinking, how do we submit to festivals? Should we do that? How do we submit to festivals, and how to pick budget? Somebody does want to talk budget. You know what? Which one should it be, guys? Let's get a vote. Should we talk budget next? I will talk budgets. I will talk budgets and how I screwed up my budget, and then you can learn from me. How does that sound? How about, or picking the festivals? How to pick good festivals? Okay, let me do how to pick good festivals first, because I want to pull some documents for productions. I want to pull like some research to be able to show you, and maybe point. Oh, you know what? This production book, by the way, will help you. It will also help you with budgets. I can do budget. Okay, budgets on Friday after your crowdfunding. That sounds good, Kathy. That sounds good. So tomorrow night I'm going to do about how to submit to film festivals. Please remember, and I do count the hearts afterwards. This is just shameless promotion, isn't it? The most hearts by the end of the week gets a free Failure Groupies mug sent to them. Look at that shot. Huh? This is why I'm not a DP, people. This is why I hire DPs. The most hearts by the end of the week, and I think Wesley was in the lead last. I will get you a free Failure Groupies mug. How's that? That's my film right now. You don't ask, you don't get. That's how it works, Canna, right? Okay, guys, I've been yapping way too long tonight. If you have any more questions, like, Twitter them to me at Rosalie Tenset. That's with a TH at the end, even though I say T. It's Norwegian. It's weird. Just like me. So Let me know what, you are very welcome. You are very welcome. Sorry. Hey, Luckwalk92. I'm so sorry. We're just getting ready to wrap up here, but you can see me on my YouTube channel tomorrow. I will repeat this. Obviously, it'll be up there. It's on my playlist that I'm calling the New Filmmaker Tips. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel called the New Playmakers. Yes, that's what we're doing. We are playing and making stuff out of play. So is that, I mean, every once in a while you have to remind yourself we got in this business because we wanted to play, right? So thank you so much for the hearts. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope you all have a great night. Bye.